My name is Elena Whitaker. I was 27 years old when I learned that some people don't ask for freedom, they ask for storage. The moment didn't come with screaming, or accusations, or shattered plates. It came over burritos. We were sitting at our usual corner table in a small Mexican place, 2 blocks from his apartment. The kind of place where the chairs wobble slightly and the servers remember your order without asking. We'd been coming there since year one, back when we split everything evenly and argued over who loved cilantro more. That night, we were sketching couch placements on a folded receipt. The apartment was already chosen, the deposit already paid. My boyfriend Lucas set his fork down carefully. Too carefully, like he'd rehearsed the movement. "Elena," he said, softening his voice in a way that immediately tightened my chest. "We need to talk." That phrase doesn't mean what it used to anymore. It's never neutral. It's a siren. I nodded. "Okay." He ran a hand through his hair, avoided my eyes. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he said, "about us, about the future." My stomach dipped. "I'm only 25, he continued, "and I've only been with 3 women, including you." There it was. "I feel like I missed out," he said quickly, as if speed could make it kinder. "Important experiences. I don't want to wake up at 40 wondering what I didn't explore." I stared at him. We weren't engaged, we weren't married. We were moving in together. This wasn't a locked door, it was a hallway. "So," I said slowly, "you're saying you don't want to move in?" He shook his head immediately. No, that's not what I mean." "Then what do you mean?" He exhaled. "I need space, just a pause, to see what else is out there. And then—" He smiled, gentle, reassuring. "I'm confident we'll find our way back." A pause. Like we were a movie buffering, like I was a jacket he planned to hang up and retrieve later. I looked at his face, really looked. He wasn't scared, he wasn't conflicted. He was comfortable. "You want to date other women," I said. He winced. "That's a harsh way to put it." "And you expect me to wait?" "Not wait," he corrected quickly. "Just understand. You're exactly who I see myself marrying. This is just timing." Timing. That word has ended more relationships than betrayal ever has. I picked up my drink, took a slow sip. "If I say no," I asked, "what happens?" He hesitated. That half second told me everything. "I think you'll regret it," he said finally, "because this doesn't change how I feel about you." That was the moment something inside me went still. Not numb, clear. I set my glass down. "Lucas," I said evenly, "if you walk away to explore, there's no coming back." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Elena, don't be dramatic. People take breaks all the time." "This isn't a break," I said. "This is you wanting permission." "For what?" "To treat me like an option." His smile faded. "You're twisting this." "No," I replied. "I'm finally hearing it correctly." I reached for my purse. "I wish you luck," I said, standing. "Explore freely." "Elena," he said sharply, "sit down." I placed cash on the table, my half. "No pause," I said, "no reunion, no later." His face shifted from surprise to disbelief. "You'll change your mind," he said. I looked at him one last time. I already did. I walked out. That night, I called the landlord and forfeited my $500 deposit. Lucas hadn't signed yet. I told myself it was cheap insurance against a future that would have cost me far more. Then I blocked him. Everywhere. Not dramatically. Decisively. For 2 months, there was silence. And I believed, foolishly, that was the end. I didn't know yet that Lucas had never intended to lose me, only to park me. 2 months after I walked out of that burrito place, life did what it always does when you refuse to beg. It kept moving. Not gently, not romantically, just forward. The first week after the breakup felt like I'd been peeled out of my own skin. Everything reminded me of Lucas in the most irritating, mundane ways. Grocery aisles where we used to argue about cereal, a song at the gym he always played too loud, the stupid brand of hot sauce he insisted was the only one that mattered. But beneath the ache was something sharper. Relief. Because there's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from loving someone who thinks your loyalty is an asset he owns. I threw myself into routines on purpose. I joined a casual co-ed basketball group on Tuesdays. Not because I loved basketball, because I loved being somewhere Lucas had never been able to reach me. I enrolled in a coding intensive through my company, the kind that forced your brain to stay too busy for spiraling. And at work, I asked for more responsibility, extra projects, a team lead role, anything that made my day belong to me again. People like to romanticize heartbreak as a storm you survive. Mine was more like sand. It got everywhere, quietly, until one day you realize you're breathing again. I didn't stalk Lucas's pages. I didn't need to. Social media has a way of delivering what you didn't ask to see, especially when you share friends. By week 3, I heard the updates like background noise. Lucas is doing fine, my friend Trevor said one night, casual in the way people are casual when they're trying not to take sides. He's out a lot. Out where? I asked, and hated myself for asking. Trevor shrugged. Clubs, bars, some weekend trip, Vegas, I think. He posted stories with this girl from some boot camp thing. Boot camp, of course. Lucas always loved environments where people clap for doing the bare minimum, sweating, shouting affirmations, talking about growth like it was something you could buy in monthly installments. I nodded like it meant nothing. But that night, in my apartment alone, I opened Instagram without thinking, then froze. His profile was private. Blocked! Not by me, by him. That detail didn't hurt. It irritated me, because it told me Lucas wanted me cut off from the evidence of his exploration, like he didn't want my silence to feel too easy, like he wanted to control what I knew, even from a distance. The next time I heard about him was from someone who didn't even know they were delivering a message. A coworker from another department mentioned it in passing while we waited for the elevator. I saw Lucas Patterson at Harborline on Saturday, she said. He was with this blonde, super tall, like model tall. They were all over each other. I smiled politely, the way women do when we're practicing being unbothered. Good for him, I said. Then the elevator doors opened, and I stepped in with my face calm and my stomach humming like a live wire. That's what people don't understand. When someone leaves to explore, it isn't the exploring that stings. It's the assumption. The assumption you'll remain untouched, unchanged, available. Like you're a book he can put down mid-chapter and return to whenever he gets bored of other stories. I spent the next few months refusing to be that book. I stopped telling mutual friends not to bring him up, because the truth was, I didn't care enough to police their conversations. I stopped flinching when his name appeared on someone's phone. I stopped wondering what I could have done differently, because Lucas hadn't been confused. He'd been entitled. 6 months passed, and if I'm being honest, the weirdest part was this. Lucas never reached out. Not once. No drunk text, no apology, no, I miss you. Nothing. For a while, I wondered if he'd finally accepted reality. Then I realized something colder. He wasn't contacting me because he still believed the pause was in progress. He didn't think he needed to chase. Not yet. That illusion lasted exactly 2 months. Because that's when the messages started, just not from him. The first one came on a random Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing code changes during lunch. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. Hi, Elena, this is Tessa. Can we talk? I frowned. Tessa. I knew that name. Lucas's best friend. The same woman who had sat across from me at birthday dinners, smiling like she liked me. The same woman who'd once hugged me at a holiday party and said, I'm so glad Lucas finally found someone stable. Stable. Like I was a feature. I didn't respond. 5 minutes later, another text. He's not doing well. He made a mistake. He's hurting. Please, just hear me out. I stared at my screen, feeling my pulse thicken. Not doing well? Lucas had been in Vegas 2 weeks earlier, according to Trevor. Lucas had been making out with model-tall blondes at Harborline. Lucas had been living his dream. So why was his best friend suddenly begging? I set my phone down and went back to my food, forcing myself to chew, forcing myself not to react. Then, the next day, another message arrived, this one on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, because apparently if you block someone's phone number, they'll come find you in the professional networking cemetery. Nora Patterson had sent a message with the subject line, Quick question. Lucas's older sister. Her message was polished, corporate, and unsettlingly cheerful. Hi, Elena. I hope you're doing well. I saw you might be attending Brent's birthday this weekend. Lucas mentioned you. He's been giving you space, but he really wants to talk when you're ready. He's been giving you space. As if I was the one who needed it. As if he hadn't asked for freedom like it was a human right. I didn't reply to Nora either. Then came the coincidences. The first time I saw Lucas again was at the cafe near my office. I went there almost every Friday. Same latte, same pastry, same seat by the window. Lucas hated that cafe. Always said it smelled like burnt sugar and wet cardboard. That morning I pushed open the door, and there he was. At the counter, turning slowly, like he'd been waiting for the sound of my footsteps. Elena, he said, eyes widening like he was shocked. Wow, what are the odds? I stared at him for a second too long. He looked good. Not in a way that impressed me. In a way that told me he'd been trying. Fresh haircut, crisp jacket, the kind of outfit you wear when you want someone to regret you. My brain tried to be polite. My gut wasn't interested. You don't like this place, I said. He smiled. People change. I felt my mouth go dry. because he'd said it like a warning, not a confession. I stepped around him. "Excuse me," I said, heading toward the register. He followed. "I've been meaning to reach out," he said softly. I didn't look at him. "No, you haven't." He flinched. "That's not fair." I paid for my drink, took my receipt, and turned to face him. "Lucas," I said quietly, "if you keep showing up where I am, we're going to have a problem." His smile slipped just a fraction. "I just wanted to talk," he said. "After everything we had." Everything we had. 3 years. 3 years he'd traded for the thrill of possibilities. And now he was standing in my routine like he belonged there. I walked away without answering. But as I reached the door, I heard him behind me, voice low, almost gentle. "You're really going to punish me forever for one mistake?" I froze, not because I wanted to turn back, because of the word he chose. Punish. As if my boundaries were cruelty. As if my refusal to be his backup plan was an act of revenge. I didn't respond. I left. And that night, sitting alone in my apartment, I finally admitted what I'd been avoiding. Lucas wasn't returning like someone who missed me. He was returning like someone who believed I was still his. And something about that belief, how calm it was, how certain, made my skin prickle with the first hint of real fear. Because regret sounds like sadness. This didn't. This sounded like ownership. Lucas didn't wait long after the cafe. 2 nights later, I came back from basketball practice with my hair still damp, my gym bag cutting into my shoulder, my brain pleasantly empty in that exhausted, earned way. I was halfway down the hall to my apartment when I saw him, sitting on the floor outside my door, not pacing, not slumped, calm. Like this was an appointment he'd scheduled with confidence. He stood when he saw me, smooth and practiced, wearing an old college sweatshirt of mine. One I hadn't realized he still had. "We need to talk," he said. My heart didn't race. It hardened. "You don't get to sit outside my home," I said, keys still in my hand. "How did you get in the building?" He smiled faintly. "You forget. Mrs. Alvarez still thinks we're together." Of course she did. Lucas was charming. He collected people like credentials. "That ends tonight," I said. "Say what you need to say and leave." He hesitated like he hadn't expected resistance. Then he took a breath. "I messed up," he said. "I thought I needed to see what else was out there. I did. And now I know." I opened my door, stepped inside, and left it open, very intentionally not inviting him in. "I'm done listening," I said. "Elena," he said urgently, 3 years. Don't we deserve a conversation?" I laughed once, short, humorless. "No," I said, "we already had it, over burritos." His jaw tightened. "I explored," he said, like he was presenting a resume. "I dated, I met people, and none of it mattered, because you're who I want to build a life with." I stared at him. "You mean now?" I said, "after the novelty wore off." "That's not fair." "Fair?" I repeated. "You asked me to wait while you sampled alternatives. You called me wife material just later. Do you hear yourself?" He stepped closer. "I always knew you were the one," he said. "I just needed to be sure." "And I needed to not be treated like a storage unit," I replied. His voice sharpened. "You're overreacting." There it was, the entitlement. The certainty that his clarity should override my decision. "I'm saying no," I said, one last time. His face changed, not dramatically, subtly, like something inside him recalculated. "So that's it?" he asked. "You're throwing us away because I was honest?" "You didn't want honesty," I said. "You wanted insurance." Silence stretched between us. Then his voice dropped. "You won't find someone who knows you like I do." I smiled sadly. "That's the point." He stared at me for a long second, then stepped back, hands lifting. "Fine," he said. "I'll give you space." But the way he said it, tight, offended, told me he didn't mean it. The next day he showed up at my office. I didn't see him at first. I was at my desk when security called. "There's a man at reception insisting on delivering lunch," the guard said. "Says it's urgent." I walked out and saw the familiar deli bag. Lucas smiled like this was thoughtful, romantic. "Just wanted to make sure you were eating," he said. "Please escort him out," I said to security. Lucas's smile flickered. "Elena, don't make a scene." "You already did," I replied. The guard guided him away while coworkers stared, pretending not to. My manager pulled me aside afterward. "Everything okay?" she asked gently. "Yes," I said, "and it won't happen again." I was wrong. Flowers appeared. The next week. Huge. Public. With a note about forever. I threw them out in the break room trash. Then came the messages. New numbers. New profiles. Old memories weaponized. "Remember the night at the lake? You promised we'd always choose each other. Don't punish me for growing." When I blocked one, another appeared. Trevor forwarded me screenshots. "This is getting weird," he wrote. "You should be careful." That was the moment I stopped minimizing. This wasn't heartbreak. This was obsession. I called Anthony, an old friend from college who'd gone into law. He didn't dramatize when I showed him the messages. Start documenting, he said. Everything. So I did. Screenshots, voicemails, dates, times, locations. A dossier of someone who couldn't accept the word no. I told myself it couldn't get worse. I was wrong again. Because the night Lucas decided to reclaim me publicly was the night I finally understood how dangerous entitlement becomes when it's challenged. The night everything tipped from uncomfortable into unavoidable started out painfully normal. It was a Friday, late, the kind of night you convince yourself you're ready for, even when you're not. I'd agreed to dinner with Harper, someone I'd met through a professional boot camp months earlier. Smart, dry sense of humor, no intensity, no history. He didn't know Lucas, didn't know my past. He only knew the version of me that existed now, which was exactly why I said yes. The restaurant was dim and warm, all dark wood and low jazz. We were halfway through a second glass of wine when I felt it, that subtle shift in the room, the sense of being watched. I looked up, and there he was. Lucas stood near the entrance like he belonged there, dressed sharply, scanning the room until his eyes locked onto mine. His face lit up with something dangerously close to triumph. "Oh," he said loudly, approaching our table. "Elena, what a coincidence." My stomach dropped. Harper frowned. "Everything okay?" "This is Lucas," I said evenly. "My ex." Lucas smiled and extended a hand to Harper. "Temporary ex," he corrected. "We're working things out." "No, we're not," I said. Lucas ignored me. Then, like the universe wasn't done yet, another voice cut in. "Well, this is nostalgic." I turned. "Mia, Lucas's ex-girlfriend." The woman he'd dated briefly during his exploration phase. She wore a dramatic red dress and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Lucas," she said sweetly, "didn't expect to see you here." The tension snapped tight. Harper stood. "Elena, do you want to leave?" Lucas bristled. "Sit down. This doesn't concern you." Harper looked at him calmly. "It absolutely does." Lucas laughed, sharp and humorless. "So this is it? A rebound?" Something in me finally burned through the fear. "Lucas," I said loudly, "you are harassing me." The word hit the table like broken glass. Mia's smile faltered. "Oh," she murmured. "So that's how it is." Lucas stepped closer, too close. "You don't get to rewrite our story," he said. "You belong with me." I stood. "Manager," I said clearly. Within minutes, staff surrounded us. Lucas tried to grab my phone as I dialed, his fingers knocking my wine glass over instead. Red wine soaked Harper's shirt. The manager didn't hesitate. "Sir," she said, "you need to leave." Lucas's voice rose. Mia began crying. The scene collapsed into noise. Police arrived 10 minutes later. I handed over my phone, my log, my screenshots. Lucas tried to explain, tried to soften, tried to charm. It didn't work. That night, I filed for an emergency protection order, and for the first time since the burrito place, I slept without my phone under my pillow. The courthouse smelled like disinfectant and old paper, clean in a way that felt aggressively indifferent. No warmth, no ceremony, just process. I arrived early, clutching a manila folder so thick it bent at the edges. Anthony walked beside me, calm, unreadable, the way people get when they've seen situations like this spiral before. "Let the evidence speak," he said quietly. "You don't need to perform." Lucas arrived 10 minutes late. He looked smaller than I remembered, less polished. His confidence had frayed into something frantic. Behind him trailed his mother, Mrs. Patterson, lips pressed tight, eyes sharp with indignation. Lucas didn't look at me. The judge did. She flipped through my file slowly, painfully slowly. Messages, voicemails, workplace incident reports, restaurant statements, police notes. When Lucas's attorney tried to frame it as miscommunication, the judge stopped him with a raised hand. "Mr. Patterson," she said, peering over her glasses, "you asked for freedom. You were granted it. Your former partner declined to resume the relationship. Everything that followed is not romance. It is pursuit." Lucas swallowed. "I just wanted closure," he said. "Closure does not require 47 messages from 12 numbers," the judge replied. "Nor does it involve showing up uninvited at someone's home and workplace." The order was granted. 2 years, no contact, 500 feet. When we exited, Mrs. Patterson intercepted me in the hallway. "You ruined him," she hissed. "He loved you." "No," I said calmly. "He wanted to own me." Anthony stepped between us. "Any further contact will be considered a violation." She stormed off. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. Lucas lost his job within a month. Unexcused absences. Personal issues. Mutual friends stopped returning his calls. His social feeds shifted from nightlife to vague quotes about betrayal and rebirth. I didn't watch. I didn't need to. 3 months later, Tessa sent one final message through a shared contact. He's in therapy. He says he understands now. He hopes someday you'll forgive him. I didn't reply. Because forgiveness isn't a reunion. And consequences aren't cruelty. Harper and I didn't rush into anything. We took things slow, ordinary, safe. He never asked me to wait while he explored. And one night, months later, sitting on my couch, I thought about the $500 deposit I'd lost. It was the cheapest freedom I'd ever purchased.